Welcome to the Northeast Project podcast. This is episode 3 of chapter 2. My name is Kieran. I'm joined here by Ben. How you doing, Ben, today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Thank you very much, Kieran. Weather's took a bit of a downpour today. I'm currently recording this on July 30th on a Friday, and the day before the park run. Kieran, how are you feeling? Obviously, the Northeast Project takeover, as we've called it on our Facebook. How are you feeling for tomorrow?
Yeah, my Achilles is very sore. My legs are heavy, and I'm extremely tired.
Well, that's spot on, isn't it? That's spot on.
Being honest, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing parkrun tomorrow. First one for a very long time. I haven't done too many parkruns. I've probably only done 15 in the whole sort of time I've been running. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to get out there with everyone else. We've got about 40 athletes going down to Albert Parkrun tomorrow. Range of abilities, all giving our all over 5k. On a fastest course, although it has been changed slightly. I'm looking forward to see how that goes. But yeah, we're all giving it a good go. No one's really tapered for it or anything, but yeah, just a good effort. Get out there and support each other and have a good one running.
Exactly, yeah. As I said, it's not exactly a race that we've targeted, and it's more just a training run. But it's really interesting.
8 months for this.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, the last parking that we did, we were handing out flyers with no merchandise, no colour, no logo. And 18 months later, the next parking that we've got is a whole club going down, which is quite special.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, we're one of the only clubs who actually did anything over the last 18 months. Don't mind saying it because we worked very hard on it. We worked 15, 18 hours a day and very, very intensely throughout the winter and built the club out of the lockdown. So, yeah, it's nice to see everyone representing NEP who have joined in the last 18 months out of a club that has worked extremely hard and developed new ways of coaching and working together really creatively. And yeah, we're a very dynamic club, and it's nice to push ourselves out there amongst the community, which we all deserve after working so hard.
Exactly, yeah. And it looks like the weather's going to be a little bit nicer than today, so hopefully conditions will sway to our side.
Yeah. I've got a few people going for different targets. Some people are doing it as part of a marathon. Some people are trying to go for the junior record. Some people are trying to go for sub 15. Some people are trying to go for sub 30. Some people are just running 5k because never ran 5k before. So everyone's doing something different there, which is what parkrun, I guess, is all about. When we instill those values, it is something for everyone, and that's what we support.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be nice to get the whole community together and have a go at a race together as one club. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be good.
Yeah, this is coming off the back. This podcast coming off the back of a very busy week last week. Ben turned 21. I turned 23. Did a couple of races. We watched other people race quite a lot. We've got lots to talk about last week. A few things broke down. But yeah, how about your race, Ben? Let's start with your triathlon. Yeah, Ben did his first triathlon on Saturday at Castle Howard. Talk about it, Ben. How do you feel?
Yeah,
about it?
quite a bizarre experience, to be honest. Obviously we head down on the Friday night the day before, and just the feeling of packing a bike in a car was just the most bizarre thing ever. I'm normally checking my cross-country spikes. Well, I know, but in terms of preparing for a race, I'm normally checking my cross-country spikes, so I want to make sure I've got the right equipment to run the track. So to pack everything like a helmet and your cleats on your bike and you try so you not forget anything. For me, that was quite impressive, the organisation side, because I didn't realise how important that was. So it was a complete different experience for me. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Really enjoyed it. Interesting, obviously, going down in the morning and see how it was all set up. It was brilliantly organised. My race was wave 6 on the morning of the triathlon sprint. I was really happy with my performance. Obviously, the first one that I've done. I managed to come second in my race and the 7th overall, which I was absolutely over the moon with. Came out of the swim first position with a not so lovely 600 meter transition up a grassy hill to collect the bike. So yeah, the bike was quite hard. I think the bike was the hardest one. I've only been doing it for the last month since I decided I wanted to do a triathlon. Obviously, I decided to do triathlons from injury last year and not being able to run. So I started swimming and biking more, which sort of that was where that idea came from. But yeah, really impressed with my swim and my run as well. I was the second fastest in the competition on the run, only 4 seconds behind a GB runner. So I was quite happy with that. So overall, 10 out of 10, completely satisfied with the race, and so much so that I've booked my next one in. at Harrogate, Sunday 5th of September. So that should be exciting. But yeah, new experience for me. And as I said, I just wanted to take these next few months to sort of experiment around before cross country season and see what's out there really, and see what I could do. So I was quite happy.
Yeah, it was unbelievable to watch Ben. And obviously, I know maybe more than most how difficult it's been over the last few years about injuries and never really finding your niche in like in an event. And I think maybe I found your niche in the event that it is. But like it's watching you, like you're the most aggressive throughout the transition certainly, and sort of when you're in the running parts and you look like you really attacked the race. Where I mean, I look at other people and they weren't quite as aggressive. I don't know if that's because you come from a running background and I don't know. It just you look like you really enjoyed yourself and express yourself, which is really good to see.
Yeah, it's obviously interesting. I knew the bike was going to be my weakest point, so I could accept a bit of a pass through on that because, as I say, I've only been training for 4 weeks and I don't actually have a proper race bike yet. So
you look really hungry, Ben. Like you looked hungry for it, whereas the others didn't. Or being watching everyone else, like I think once you get a better bike, you smash it to pieces. You can take 10 minutes off that bike. Once you tie your shoelace a bit faster, you might get some extra transition. But yeah, like you definitely smashed it, mate, and I'm very proud of you for doing it. And it's it's a very nerve-wracking thing to go into your first triathlon. I can think of nothing worse than jumping into a leg.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't have a clue what to expect, and it was a rolling start, and I thought because they were popping off people one by one. There was like 14-hour waves, so I didn't want to be at the front, so I just went 8th. But after halfway, I found myself at the front somehow. So I don't know how I managed that, and then navigate my way back to the start without someone in front was quite difficult. I went off course a little bit, but managed to retain myself. So I learned a lot of things as well, and it was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. So I look forward to the next one and what the next few months brings, really. But yeah.
Absolutely, I look forward to supporting you, Ben, smashing it again.
I appreciate it. And obviously you had a few races, Kieran, didn't you, last week? Hitting York.
Felt like a lot.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something. Yeah, but obviously hitting York 10 miler last Tuesday. How did you find that?
Yeah, I enjoyed York. So I came third, ran 52:21. Felt like I had a good run. Felt like I was strong at the end. It was negative split. Average 5:12 pace, which was probably my goal half marathon pace at the moment. So quite close to almost peak fitness, I felt. And in terms of like the marathon block, I feel like I'm ahead of where I was sort of in March going into the April marathon attempt. So I feel like I'm ahead on that. I felt really strong. I felt like an athlete, I guess. It was nice to get a good race ticked off after Croft in March. And yeah, the two lads in front, I mean, they were better than me. They ran faster than me over 10k, and they deserved that win. But yeah, I think I ranked 6th now in the UK for 10 miles, which is good. I know not everyone does 10 miles, but it's a nice accolade anyway. But yeah, we're really satisfied with that. And I felt like, I raced well and I pushed myself, finished strong. I didn't taper for it. So, I was in the middle of a 100-mile week. So I'm not really tapering for anything right now. And, my powers of recovery are getting better. I'm feeling I've lost a bit of weight, feeling lighter on my feet, feeling stronger. Legs aren't getting tired at certain paces, and my breathing's improving. So yeah, everything's going well.
That's brilliant. You look really good actually. And I could only see the first 400, and then you were off, and I didn't see you back into another mile and a half. But yeah, you look really strong, and obviously I could tell that the two lads at the front went off really fast. I mean, fair play to them. They were hitting out a fast few miles for the first two. But I think as that race progressed, you were catching them, and there was only going to be one win if it was a 15 mile or 20 mile longer. So for you, obviously the target's the Manchester Marathon in 10 weeks' time, or however
9
long
weeks
it is.
now.
So
9 weeks tomorrow.
9 weeks tomorrow. Sorry. And the 10 mile is a good strong distance to run. I don't know if you were planning to run at marathon pace or just bring it out 10 mile flat out.
I wish I could run that. I wish I could run 5:10 pace for marathon. Should be able to play in Tokyo.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant was it the plan?
I just went to run as hard as I could.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran 5:12 for a time trial, 5:12 pace for time trial back in winter for a half. But 5:12 is what, 66, 67 for a half. Really, I need to be running closer to 65 for a half if I'm looking to run 2:20 for a marathon. So there's work to be done without a doubt. But it's a good start with a lot of output. Every day matters. And I said a few podcasts back and a few weeks back, like if I miss a day, I cancel a marathon because every day matters. Every recovery run, every session, every gym session, every recovery session, it's everything. So there's no time to waste, but I feel like I've timed it right. I'm trying not to overtrain, but I'm trying to do as much as I can each week. I'm on my limits. So yeah, it's exciting, and you progressively get a bit more nervous and excited as the days tick down. Because once you get 2 weeks out, there's nothing you can change. So realistically, I've only got 7 weeks of hard training. So
Yeah, which is very scary. Do you ever? I know, obviously, you've only done the one marathon, and I've never done a marathon before, so I can't say that accolade. But do you ever feel like you can't be like 100% prepared? Do you ever feel like you get on the start line, you're like you don't never feel prepared?
At the moment, I always feel like another 6 months I'll have a better marathon. So I'm not old enough, and I haven't had enough years of high mileage to be able to reach my peak in it. So I guess it's just about improving each marathon I do. Manchester, on my debut, I just want to lay down a good foundation and go from there, really. My plan is to do that, London and Berlin. So that's my next year.
Yeah, obviously racing in the new Adidas shoes as well, which is good.
Yeah, the carbon plates helped a bit. Yeah, that felt good. Yeah, I rated them. I didn't feel like there was any difference when you're running easy, but when you're running fast, it feels quite natural and you're in your stride. Bit of bounce back. Corners are awful on them. Really hard to turn.
Brilliant. But yeah, I think obviously something that you needed to get. But yeah, I was really impressed with your York 10 mile course, and as you say, especially in a full training week, you're not taking any day rest days or anything. So
Yeah.
and obviously the disaster that happened after Vale of York, if you'd like to tell people.
Yeah, I didn't expect my car to be towed off the course. Yeah, I didn't do that time in the car, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, basically his car wouldn't start, so they got towed off at like 12 o'clock. So we didn't get back till like 1 o'clock, but it was your birthday the next day, wasn't it? So we spent the first hour or two of your birthday morning in a recovery truck.
I spent my birthday with Race Best. Love you guys.
Which, by the way, a fantastic event, great organisation from Race Best, so fair play to them.
Yeah, fair play. It's really good. Really good. Like over 1,000 people there, and really safe. Everyone had a good race. And lots of people from the club did well. Who we had racing? We had Ian Taylor, Amanda, Noel, myself,
Mark, Emma,
Mark Poole, Emma, Helen and Stella were due to race, but did it virtually, didn't they? And who else did we have? I think so.
I think you've covered everyone there. Apologies if we haven't covered you.
Amanda's performance was definitely a good highlight with what she had to deal with.
Yeah.
4 minute PB. Was it a 4 minute PB or did she stop at 4 minutes? It was a PB.
I think it was a 4 minute stop, wasn't it?
We can't say what it was. Not it.
For some unforeseen circumstance. But you got to be prepared for every circumstance when racing. So yeah.
Mark Phil, was that a PB?
Not quite for Mark, but a good strong training run, especially same sort of cycle as you, Kieran, in terms of building up his mileage and going through a bit of fatigue. I'm not saying you're going through fatigue, of course, but he's just building up. So that was in the middle of a training brief for him. So that was just a good strong run before his half marathon.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with Mark. He did well. He's pushing on.
Yeah.
He'd be racing
Emma's run was impressive. Like coming out of isolation and pushing out a good 10 miles. That was fantastic.
Yeah, very impressed with them at the moment. She's doing brilliant. She's staying consistent. She's been one of the only ones attending, of course, the outdoor S&C classes consistently. Yeah, and results show if you stay with something consistent. So fair play to Emma. She's banging out the miles and she's staying consistent with what she's done.
Absolutely. So we had that on the Tuesday, and then on the Thursday we had the northeast/northern 5K championships at Sunderland over at Silksworth on the ski slope. We had quite a few athletes down for that, and a lot getting a PB on the male and female side. We had Victoria competing for the females, and for that side we had Mark, we had Robert Teasdale, we had Carl, Adam, Lee, Ben Hodgson. Great to see Jonathan Atwood there.
Rob Clark.
Robert Clark. Yeah. Good to finally meet up with Robert Clark.
Who, by the way, had an absolutely fantastic run. Fair play to Rob.
Fastest 5K for 2 years, was it?
Fastest 5K coming through COVID over the last few months. So he looked really good. Fantastic for Rob.
Yeah. Lee smashing his first 5K in the low 17s was impressive. Rob Teasler going sub 17, back in the 16s was great to watch.
Phenomenal
Carl
run
dipping over
from
18.
Rob.
Yeah. 17:59 for Carl. Mark laying down a good time after York. I don't know how he did that because I couldn't have done a 5K after York.
He's the mountain goat.
I know. Adam running a good time, 17:48, I believe.
Yeah, Adam looks strong.
Yeah. Who else we have? Ben Hudson, 16:18 for a 16-year-old. Very impressive. Almost got Ben's time.
Yeah, but without that, he's a very, very talented individual, and he's only going to push on to achieve great things. And
Victoria
that sub 16.
Victoria ran really well. Victoria Croxford. Although the finish could have been a bit better. We'll have to stick the video out there at some point. But,
oh dear, yeah, a bit of a debatable finish from Victoria. Taking a 90-degree left turn before the finish line. Yeah. But yeah, she had a fantastic run, and she's another one who's staying consistent at the moment. She's getting the rewards for it. So fair play, Victoria. She's smashing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and then we had people back at Parkrun, of course, on Saturday, doing that for the first time, giving up for our takeover this Saturday. So overall, it was a very, obviously had both of our birthdays, so there wasn't loads of coaching going on within NEP. We had quite
recovery trips.
Recovery, yeah. We had quite a varied week. We were here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, it's been nice this week to get back to sort of coaching day in, day out, to long coaching days, which we do love. And we do love helping, supporting people, and sort of checking in and seeing the context of the whole club. It's nice to coach everyone in the club personally. And I think that is an attribute that no other club could possibly say.
Yeah, we see everyone individually on a basis, don't we? Every single week. We've got contact to over 140 athletes between us. So, yeah.
We want to keep, if someone's in a club, I find it very strange. I talked to a few people this week about like how clubs have athletes but don't coach them. I don't understand that. It's the system that we've had for over 100 years, but if it was like that 100 years ago, but we have sort of affiliates, but not actually being coached by the club, and I think it just makes it really murky water, really, in terms of who takes responsibility for the athlete. A lot of athletes in clubs don't have coaches, which is pretty bonkers, really, when you think about it. So we just try and keep every athlete, make them special, and treat them as like elite athletes, really, and try and give them as much support as possible. If we've got an athlete in the club and we don't know what they're doing, then that's a serious problem, and it's failing as coaches, really. We're not doing our job right. So
there's always lots of different avenues to get support and help, not just from training but also in personal life as well, which tying it all together is what about athletes being about. It's not just about the training, but it's also about day-to-day life and being able to compare and contrast and fit in your training with that. So the support doesn't just come from us too, but also the 140 other athletes who are dedicated to the cause and want to ultimately support the club and us too, which is absolutely fantastic to see.
Yeah, obviously we coach a lot of people from other clubs as well, and we're keen to do that because we care about developing athletes in the northeast. So yeah, we do that as well. Not just sort of full-on passionate NEP people, but we coach and deliver services to people all across the northeast because we care about running. We don't do it for the money. We do it for the passion of the sport. We wouldn't be out there 15 hours a day. We would be doing something else, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
we're not
exactly.
Anyway, moving on, everyone. So, in fact, should we mention what's happening next week? We've got something different happening next week. Before we move on to our topic of the podcast, Ben doesn't know I'm going to hit him with it. It's not another birthday surprise, don't worry. So on Wednesday we start our Teesside University lab test with our athletes. So a fantastic opportunity we've been graced with, but we're going to be taking our NEP athletes into the labs, into Teesside University, and doing a range of testing, Betamax, lactate testing, biomechanical testing, fat percentages, all that stuff, pacing. And we're going to find out a lot of data that we can then put back into our plans and our club development. And we're trying to do it. We're trying to get every athlete in the club in it. I mean, that's maybe impossible. Of course, a lot of people are away, but over the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks, we just want to get as many athletes in the labs as possible and to get as much data as possible for really for the next 6 months. But this is sort of part of a longer term relationship with the university in the area. Obviously, we're quite heavily based around Teesside, but this is open to anyone who we coach as long as you can travel to the university. So yeah, this is going to be a fantastic opportunity, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, first of all, thanks to Georgie for giving us the opportunity at Teesside University. The facilities there for the scientific labs are absolutely fantastic. And I don't know about yourself, Kieran, but I've done 2 tests before, a lactic threshold test and a VO2 max test, and the way they sort of structure it and the results you get back are just phenomenal with the whole readings. And obviously you put your mask on so you guys don't just get the cardiovascular responses, but you also get the respiratory responses as well. Sorry, I do apologize. So yeah, it's really good, and I really enjoyed doing it. It's absolutely fantastic. As I say, it's open to all ages and abilities. Well, not all ages, you have to be over a certain age. But all abilities as well. And there's loads of different tests to do, whether you want to go flat out and do your VO2 max and find out the whole biomechanical scale and anatomy, or you just want to do the, as I say, fat percentage test, or group testing with the heart rate drops on the field. So there's a test for everyone. It's a fantastic opportunity for the club to really delve into that scientific approach that we try to push ourselves.
Absolutely. Why shouldn't like sports clubs within areas that are built around the universities, why the universities work with more sports clubs to develop different sports? We don't utilize these services enough, I don't think. And from their point of view, I mean, I imagine they probably want loads of people in for testing and for the students to practice the work on.
Yeah,
we've got all these athletes who want to improve, so they want to find out data to improve, and the students want to work. So it's a win-win, isn't it? We want to take this modern approach to the sport. We're not out here just to participate. We're out here to improve our performance, and that's what the club's about. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to our tests as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a superb sport, not just for our athletes, as you say, but also ourselves and the uni. And it's a shame that other clubs in the area, especially across the country, don't use the universities around, because they've got hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of scientific research and labs just sat there, not used, and maybe a bit too much politics in clubs, which sort of stops and degrades the communication between universities and clubs. But as I say, it's fantastic that we managed to get in and give our athletes the experience of what it's like as well.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we don't do enough as a running community to develop the sport. And why should it just be a few select elites that get this level of support? Let's try to open up to as many people as possible. Yeah. We're not just out here just to run around, are we? We're out here to do something special, and let's use as much of our environment as we can. And do that. Okay, awesome. So moving on to our topic of the podcast, right? Quite relevant with a lot of us racing at the moment. Some big events coming up, and something we can practice within our training as well. So the topic we went for was pacing and race strategies. Okay, now this can be involved in training and racing as well. But it's all about how do we prepare psychologically, physically, for a race and the warm up in. How do we pace during a race? How does that feel? What we're looking for? What's the feedback we're looking for? And what do we deem as a successful race? Okay, based on our pacing. So maybe we can talk about some of our experiences of different races and how we've got older and more experienced about pacing and what is a true effort. How do you know that you've run a true effort in a race? I think this is a very, very difficult concept, that not everyone runs a true effort in a race. And sometimes we're a bit surprised about how much we can get out of ourselves. Yeah. So do you want to go for Ben? So like in your experience of races, we want to talk about different distances here because it applies different events. You need different strategies. Now, I actually did my dissertation on pacing strategies, so I've got a bit of knowledge on this one. Good change.
Well, before I say what I'm going to say, do you actually want to talk about your dissertation? Because I think it's a really interesting point that you haven't actually, I don't think you've mentioned it much to other athletes. And I think it's a really interesting point about the dissociative and associative strategies.
Yeah, so I did my dissertation on pacing strategies. I actually used NEP when when we founded it in the first year, I used our groups for testing on a field-based testing. It's more about psychology really, and how we pace efforts. It was all to do with psychology and pacing, so associative strategies, and the opposite of that is external strategy. So associative is like looking at our watch, listening to our breathing. It's all about feedback, right? It's all about associating to the task. What we found was that people who associate a lot, they have a less enjoyable experience, and they tend to run worse. Okay. However, when you are looking at your watch all the time, the longer events, it does give you a good element of feedback in terms of pace. So yeah, I guess it's less enjoyable, but it can help you stay on track. So it's you gotta weigh it up. It depends what you're in it for. The opposite side of that is about thinking externally. So it's about dissociating from the task and thinking about anything else other than what you're doing. Like switching off, if you like. So people who did this, they actually ran better. They ran faster, and they enjoyed it, and they tend to pace better. Well, there was actually no difference in pacing, but they didn't need a watch essentially to be able to find out how hard they were going. If you like, it sort of just happened. It's quite interesting. And we only used it on 10 people, so it wasn't a big sample size, if you like. But we enjoyed it more, and they tend to get better results because they weren't thinking about how bad they were feeling. And I think the more you think about how bad you're feeling, the more you think how awful it actually is. And I think we can all associate with that really. Hard sessions and races. I mean, when you start thinking about how many you got left, what's your pace looking like? I feel awful. Just all those things you think negatively, don't you? But sometimes you just turn to a session in the right mindset and just think, don't really care what I do. Leave the watch at home. Just run hard, get the efforts done. Maybe analyse your day at the end. You switch your watch off or whatever. Sometimes you actually feel like you had a better workout. We experimented this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, with people about taking your watch off and just listen to your, not even listen to your body, just doing it. That's the beauty of it. There's actually not much involved in terms of thinking. But I tried that for a year of racing actually without a watch, and I ran PBs and everything. But I was getting fit at the time, but I actually paced better without a watch. Funny enough, because I guess I ran. And maybe I wasn't dissociating all the time because I was listening to how my body was. I think you can't just completely dissociate. You do have to understand how you're feeling. But I think the more natural you approach your race, Steve Jones was great at this. Anyone who knows Great British Marathon and Steve Jones, he rarely raced for a watch, and he used to just go out and just run by feel. Broke world records, in marathon debuts and stuff. Great racer. But yeah, paced better. I remember doing a London 10K, and I ran 31:08, and I did the first 5K in 15:30, and the second 5K in 15:38. That was without a watch. So yeah, do we need a watch? I don't know, in person, but I didn't feel like I needed it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't feel like, well, I'll tell you what, that triathlon I didn't race with a watch, and I was so much smoother in terms of pacing myself and making sure it was the right pace. Obviously, it's the first triathlon, so it's a bit different. You're doing 3 different activities, but I've thoroughly enjoyed running without a watch, just because I thought there wasn't much pressure. I felt like I could get my rhythm better. Didn't feel like I was attached to anything. And as I say, I could come out with the associative and the external views. When I was struggling and when I was trying to get a rhythm and concentrate. So, I think that massively depends on also the training types that you've got through the week. If you've got a massive volume frequency during the week, you get a specific week number, week 3, week 4, week 5, where you start to feel fatigued, not just physically but mentally, and you perhaps maybe need that break of just going out and enjoying that run and running to how you feel. Because how many athletes you see where they start the watch, they're ready to go for a race, they'll stop it, and then the first thing they do is look on Strava and they're like 9:59, 9:58, and they do that, don't they, when they're around?
Think about from an energy point of view. How much energy are you wasting doing that all the time?
Yeah.
But I took my watch off when I was racing. I'd never raced on a watch across country as well. It's when you go through the lap markers of the splits, you can hear everyone's watch beep. They'll go like that. and I'm just running forwards, you feel like you've got a performance advantage when you aren't constantly looking at your arm. The amount of energy you're wasting is absolutely unbelievable.
If you say on a cross country race, it's a 7 mile run. If you don't have a watch, your focus is just to finish at the finish line as fast as you can. Whereas I think when you're running, as you say, with a watch, you come through a mile, you check your pace. Right, I'm going to stay to that pace, and you start to take your mind off the task a little bit more, which, especially at the higher end of performance, is massive when you need to gain every second and you're pushing on the last stage of the race. So yeah, there's massive differences.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, I feel like the waste sort of mental toughness and energy focusing on a watch.
Yeah,
It actually should be focusing on the race.
Yeah.
It feels a bit draining, actually. That's how I would describe it. Quite draining to look, especially if you're at the end of the race and you feel like, oh, your pace is slipping. It's quite energy draining. Whereas just focus on the race.
Yeah.
Who cares? Just race.
Yeah. I think if it's a confidence thing as well. Like if you're running up a hill at 8 minute mile, but you feel really good and you don't have watch tight that, you're ultimately going to be so much more confident compared to, say, if 8 minute miles a pace that you don't want to run, you want to run 7:30, and you look at your watch, you might feel good run up the hill, but it's telling you that it's running 30 seconds per mile slower, which ultimately makes your confidence drop. So, it's swings and roundabouts with it all. But I just think in terms of confidence wise, you can be so much more confident running without the watch. I know I've got a bit off topic here, but it's about focusing on pace.
On my watches, yeah. I remember Parker actually. At Albert Parker, I was always stuck on 15:30. Every time I did it, I did a 15:30. It was doing my head in. I took my watch off. I would say very much similar fitness, and I ended up running a 15:21. And I felt like on that second mile when the 5K starts getting tough, instead of looking at my watch, I was focusing on pushing on and pushing on and pushing on, and just racing it. And I definitely thought it definitely made a difference. Even if it's marginal like that, but just getting over a little mental block. Maybe I was always expecting to run 15:30, and I knew what paces 15:30 were. But taking all that off, actually you're capable of much more than that.
I think mechanically, without a watch, you're able to understand what a pace feels like mechanically. Like your body can understand that.
Should do, yeah. Unless you've tapered, I think, and you feel really good. Sometimes you think, "Wow, I'm actually running that pace." I see only instance I would say that. I think when you're running bad, you're running bad. You're not moving as quick. I always think if you can if you feel like loose and free, and you feel like you're full of running, the sort of quote of full of running, where you feel like you can push. I think you're always going to have a good result. You're always going to have a result plus your potential. If you're feeling a bit fatigued, and your legs are a bit heavy, and your form's a bit off, then you're probably not going to run so well. So
exactly, yeah. But I think of it going off the sort that watch topic, and in terms of being prepared, almost like training to race sort of thing. There's two massive periods in the calendars. There's sort of like the cross country marathon season where efforts tend to be longer, and you're blissing out more miles, and then there's the sort of summer season track competitions where you're dropping your mileage a little bit and you're focusing more on specifically faster efforts, VO2 max work. So I think practicing for your race discipline, firstly knowing your race discipline. I mean, how many people do you see racing? I mean, between 800, 1500, 3K, 5K, 10K, half marathon all in one season. I think you've got to focus on one specific goal first. You've got to understand what you're going to focus on that season. Like, I know cross country is a bit different because it's not specific distances, but you've got to understand the races that you're going to target and also what days they are to make sure that you don't peak too early. But especially track season, you're going to make sure that, right, I'm going to go for a 1500 meter sub 4 minute, or I'm going to go for a 5K sub 15. So I think firstly you've got to have that target and what you want to achieve in terms of your race discipline, and then all your training becomes either training at that pace or training fast at that pace. Obviously manipulating the recoveries, manipulating the volume. So I think the more that you can race and become confident with the terrain and the pace and the distance of the race itself, the more comfortable and confident you become at actually racing at that pace when it comes to race day.
Yeah. We're sort of expanding the topics around this. Let's sort of, I was going on another point, but let's sort of keep it with pace and sort of in the race. So shall we talk through sort of the preparation of a race maybe, and how we go about nailing our pace? Let's leave the watch debate for a bit and just sort of focus on pace itself. So like a warm up, I think if you're going to get a pace pacing right in a race. I think it all starts with a warm up as your preparation. So talk us through, Ben, like you get a race. So let's compare something like from a mile to a sort of 5k, 10k, or a half or a marathon. What's the different warm up to nail your pace? How do
You mean in terms of volume or in terms of intensity, or just the whole?
What is a warm up for those different distances? Or
Yeah,
you
well,
to enable you to run your potential pace?
yeah, I mean it's two complete different ends of the continuum. I mean, you watch it in the Olympics and 4 years ago when you look at Usain Bolt and you compare his warm up compared to Mo Farah. I mean, Usain Bolt used to warm up for like hour, 2 hours, making sure everything's spot on. Whereas Mo Farah for a marathon, say warm up for 10 minutes because he knows that he's going to run 26 miles. So it's first it's got to based on the race discipline that you're doing. But for me, I don't tend to worry too much about the warm up. I just try to get rid of the first 5-10 minutes of toxic miles. I always try to get a mile and a half in, no matter what I'm doing. But just a nice easy pace, and then I try to focus on the sharpness and the quality on the drills and strides afterwards. So sorry, a warm up would normally last around 20 to 25 minutes for me on a normal race day. 10-15 minutes warm up, 5 minutes of drills, 5 minutes of strides, and then I'm on the start line ready to go. And everyone has the different drills as well. Everyone has the favorites as well. I like to pick the ones that make me specifically feel fast. I like to feel quite bouncy and sort of fresh on the start line. And that comes with the right drills that are favorite to me. So I always tend to stick with the same ones. And it's about having a routine of that warm up structure really.
Yeah. So how would it differ from a mile, 5k, 10k, marathon?
Well, the volume would go down is obviously as the race increases.
Yeah. What about your strides? How does your strides change?
Yeah. So
what is a stride to someone?
Yeah, so a stride is basically running like a 90% race pace effort. Running like a efficient turning over at a fast pace, just basically getting the legs turned over, making sure that the legs are fresh and ready to go. So normally for a 5k, I would do like a 15-second effort at like 3k pace, so just running just a touch faster than the race pace, just to make sure that when I drop back into 5k pace, that my legs feel fresh and the pace feels a bit slower. Which is what I like to set. Say from 1500, I'll tend to run like 10 seconds faster than mile pace, so tend to accelerate quite fast and get my fast twitch fibers contracting ready for the race. So the warm up tends to replicate what muscle fibers that I'm tending to use predominantly. If it's more of a faster race, I'll tend to do more work to activate the fast twitch fibers, and vice versa with the longer races. I'll do some more slow twitch fiber activation.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think it's tricky. I've experimented with lots of different warm-ups. And I've never really found the right one, just like tapers. But yeah, you're right. It's short. You want a good jog, if you like. Sometimes I skip drills because I feel like if I'm doing, I don't know if this is a psychological thing. I sort of understand some things back by science by, but like I feel like you lose the aerobic benefit of having your warm up, your session, a race, if it's a training race, and you warm down together as one with less break. Like I like to keep less than 1 minute between finishing a warm up and starting a session, finishing a session, starting a warm down, because I want to keep the aerobic benefit going. I don't want my heart rate to drop, like if I'm doing it for training reasons.
Yeah,
I'm really strict like that, and I don't know if it's just me being psychologically a bit strange. I remember training some sessions and they'd have a 10-minute gap between warm up and session. You've lost your warm up. Not just, yeah, you might be ready for the workout, but I feel like that mile and a half could have been extra aerobic benefit. But it's a bit lost.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You want to attach it together, and you want the whole workout to be the whole workout from start of the warm up to the stretch at the very end, and you can't do that with a 5-minute gap in between each one.
Yeah. I think I like to do some faster strides, like you said, like faster than your race pace. But then maybe like a long one at sort of the pace you're looking to run. So like a minute effort at, if you're going to do a 5k, maybe not a minute, but maybe like 30 seconds. So you're doing a lactate build up, but 30 seconds at 5k pace, like 2 minutes before your race start. That feels quite nice. For marathon, it doesn't rely too much. It's jogging, a few drills to loosen up. your legs are going to be like that. You can't do anything for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours. So you need to get it right. You can't change. So you need to get your form right and all that. Your strides don't matter so much. You don't need to do any sprints before marathon. But I think faster than race pace, and then maybe one at race pace. So when you go into your race, your last effort was race pace. So you know what that feels like. I think that's important.
Yeah. I think also as the distance increases, there's also mentally, like preparing mentally for what's about going through a marathon. You need to be mentally prepared to be on the pace from the start. Otherwise, you lose valuable seconds, which you've got to catch at the end. Which, especially when you hit mile 22, 23, that's not what you want to be doing, catching miles up as you start to fatigue. So I think just also getting your mind in set of what's to come, knowing what pace you should be achieving, which hopefully should have. As you're doing your training sessions, knowing what pace you should be hitting and what time you should be targeting for. If you don't know what you're doing the race for, then what's the point?
I've got to like lots of sort of think about how the race is going to go before I do it. And it's normally a positive one, otherwise I don't do it. But like I think about succeeding. I never have a thought about dropping out ever. It's never. I mean, everyone's different. I know people suffer when they go to a race or a training session, and they're battling starting the workout. I know that's a real thing for a lot of people, and it certainly was for me when I was younger. But I think you've got to get to a position if you're going to race successfully. You never go to a race and think, "Am I going to do it? Or am I not going to do it? Am I going to drop out?" I think if you've got any thoughts like that, maybe not your day at a race. So you should be thinking about succeeding. You should be thinking about reaching your goal and what you want out of the race. If you're not thinking like that, then you're probably not going to achieve it. So you've really got to get that right. I think you sort of, as you're warming up, you should go through how the race is going to plan out and how you're going to expect to feel. It's important about pacing, expect to feel at maybe each mile marker and how, what feedback you're going to get from your body. How much do you expect to have left after 75% of your race? When for most distances, that's time when it starts to get very, very difficult. So maybe talk about when we start a race, what's the strategy, Ben? The gun goes off. Could be any race. I think this applies to anyone I'm hinting at. But how does that first minute go? What do you do in the first minute of the race? Let's say 5K and above. But if it's the first minute of 400, you got to run pretty quick.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like as you say, for a 1500, I like to set off fast.
Maybe start 5K beyond. Yeah, 5K beyond.
No. But what I mean is, like, I want to compare it to that because I think it's important. Like for a 1500, I would set off quite fast. For a 5K, if I feel like I set off too fast, I just feel like I die straight away. I can't set off fast. Whereas other people like to shoot off and then maintain. I like to set off slower and then build my way through. So I think it depends on the distance and the confidence and maybe, who knows, say tomorrow I might set off fast and I might do really well, and that sort of alters my mental thoughts of future races. But the only way you can experience that is racing. And some people don't race often enough with specific race paces and just trying out different strategies. Like some people just do the same thing a week on weekend, but they don't actually experiment. And the only way to improve is to find out the optimum race strategy for you. So for a 5K, I would not myself slow. Like I would set off like 5 to 10 seconds per K slower than my target pace, and then aim to race by 5 seconds per K faster per K, to hopefully achieve my pace at the end. Because I know my last K is going to be the fastest. I can finish quite strong. So as long as I can sustain and feel quite fresh after 3K, I know for the last 2K that I can dig it in there no matter how much I'm hurting. It's a mental battle after that.
Well, that's an important point. I think, that first minute of the race can be either won or lost, your individual race. I think if you shoot off, you go anaerobic too quick. There's no returning from once you go anaerobic too quick, and lactate starts to build up. It's sort of game over. You see it, especially that Southern 5K when everyone set off down the hill. A lot of fast first miles, not so many fast third miles. So like that first minute is important to not shoot off, hold yourself back, and work your way in. Definitely, you want to try and run a slight negative split on every race, really. Maybe not so much when you get down to sort of 800, 1500, but certainly 5K and above. I think it applies to all the aerobic events. You want to run a slightly negative split, or at least an even split, to nicer and performance improvement way to do it, if you like. Because if you start fast, well, there's no into it, is there? And sort of in a race, so let's stay with a 5K at 2 miles. How do we expect to
feel? Me, absolutely terrible. You know me at that point, just feel dead. I mean, I hate 5K. I mean, I can win it now, and when I get to 2 miles, I really start to struggle. But for me, it's not a physical thing at that point. It's a mental thing, and as long as I haven't set off too fast where I physically can't keep up the pace, I know that mentally I can dig out, a mile at race pace if I haven't gone too fast to start and there's a hit at anaerobic point. So yeah, I think that's where for a lot of people the race is won or lost at that 2 mile. Because some people just mentally can't handle the stress of that 6, 7, 8 minute period, however long it would be.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 miles in, or 75% into most races. So 2 miles of 5K, 4 miles of 10K, 10 miles of a half, 20 miles of a marathon. I think you reach a point where, okay, now I've got to really, really gut this out and start to push. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people mentioned this week actually about the races that they didn't feel like in training they went to that point to experience how they should feel, and then they just sort of didn't know exactly what to do after that point to get a successful race. So you get 2 miles, but they almost feel like, well, how am I supposed to feel now? What do I do now? And maybe that was a bit too much for some people who didn't succeed in the Summer 5K last week or certain events. I think that's an important point. I think that's when it comes into racing practice, and the more races you do at your desired distance, the better you're going to get at it, and the more you expect and know how that feels at certain points in the race.
Yeah, I think, and it's, as I said previously, you've got to be able to replicate that in your sessions to ultimately practice it, running not just physically, as I say, but mentally with the confidence to run in that intensity. It's the same as a marathon workout. Like if you're running 12, 13, 14 miles at marathon pace as a session, that's mentally a very strong block, which only builds you stronger as an athlete for other sessions. Say for example 8 times a K, that feels much easier compared to 14 miles at marathon pace. So it's about stressing the body out as well to be able to cope with that, and realizing once you've done it that actually you can achieve it, and you just need to perform in a race, which becomes a little bit easier. Still hard, but the more you work at that effort, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of your sessions, like, you should reach a point where you're doing the distance or over distance at that pace with certain recoveries, and if you shorten the recoveries and increasing the volume at goal race pace is an important aspect. So you can't race the whole thing at race pace and train, especially when you get to sort of halves and marathons. Obviously, you can't run 26 miles at marathon pace and training. So it's about how far you go and how close you can get to stressing your body to getting the performance improvement to be able to execute that perfect race. But yeah, I see too many people doing like 5K volume sessions, and their goal is to run a fast 10K. Well, you're not getting the demands of that last 2 miles of a 10K in a race, and you've got to reach that point regularly in training to enable you to pace that there and to have an overall better experience, really, and execute your plan.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, hopefully you learn a bit about that pace strategy that you can take into your races and how you should feel. And it's important to reach that point in training often to run your race right. So, I mean, people say about 5K being like couch to 5K, and that's the first event you do. 5K is very difficult. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of good pace and a lot of experience and training to be able to execute that well. No distance is easy. We're all beginners at all these distances, unless you're in an Olympic standard and you're executing perfectly. We can always learn a bit, regardless of what event you do. It's not just about moving up volume. Yeah, hope you learn a bit there. And thank you for listening, everyone, to our podcast. We'll let you know how the parkrun goes next week. Of course, we've got a course next week, so we've got that to look forward to. We've got some training / trip time races out in just the week after that. So that's something else to look forward to. It's good training prep on the road to autumn success for a lot of people. After we've got another workshop, we released a workshop at Dufton for the 25th of September, I believe, and the 26th of September, so the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend. We've got a workshop happening in the springboard in the cross-country season. All the dates for the Northeast Harry League and the North Yorkshire South Durham League are out. We've got the Northeast Cross Country Championships at Sedgefield. Not sure on Northerns yet. National Cross Countries at London, Parliament Hill, the iconic course where it was born. So yeah, cross country's on our mind as well as we head into autumn and the rest of summer. A lot of people finishing up the track seasons and the final blocks of summer. Yeah, maybe having a rest or two or a holiday over the next few weeks. If you're not training for a marathon of Great North, we wish you well with that. But yeah, keep the fire burning, everyone. Have a fantastic week. I wish I'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, super guys. Looking forward to meeting you all in the next few weeks as we get up for these events, and yeah, should be a great experience. So thank you very much for listening, guys, and we will catch you in episode 4 of chapter 2. Take care.